Welcome to the TPC desktop video series on using geodetics. In this video we're going to look at geodetic closure and area. We've got a drawing up that has an east-west line, true east-west line, and a section area of approximately 80 by 80 chains. I'm going to go ahead and open up the traverse for the section area just by right-clicking anything that's drawn by that traverse and choosing Edit Traverse. And we see that this traverse has geodetic distance and true bearing in it. So we've computed the positions of these corners of this section using geodetics. And notice also that our line here heading due south has a small convergence in it, okay, of 1 minute. And so we expect this to close out for us. Let's go ahead and bring up the closure view. And we can see, if we highlight this area here, that we've got an area of 639.997, or just about 640 acres. And if we look at the linear error, we're just about closed flat on this. Very, very small errors are being reported here. So let's back up and just walk through the traverse view and then the closure view so we can understand exactly what we're working with here. Notice that at the top of the traverse view, this traverse tells us we're working with true bearings and geodetic distance. So if we go to the Format dialog box, we see that the distance units are in chains, and we see from the distance pull down that we're using geodetic distance at the project elevation of 1,500 feet. We see from the direction pull down that we're using true bearing or mean course convergence. So I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. If we wanted to make sure that we were tracking along with the raw data, we can choose Recompute to make sure those coordinates are updated. And now let's take a look at the closure view here. I want you to notice right off the top, and I'll go ahead and highlight this, that the closure view repeats the information that tells us how this traverse was computed. So I see that my distance factor is 66, so I'm working with chains. I'm using geodetic distance at project elevation of 1,500 feet and true bearings per mean course convergence. So that tells me that all of my distances here for linear error, that sort of thing, are going to be in chains. It tells me they're going to be geodetic distances at project elevation, and any bearing that's displayed for my closure is going to be a true bearing. Here's my traverse summary, where it tells me my total horizontal distance around the section, and I expect that to be 320 chains, or 4 by 80. It tells me also my area, and here's where I said we're just about right on at 640 acres. And then I come down to my survey error, and I have my linear error. Okay. If I wanted to, I could come up, for those of you who are interested in doing public land survey system, I could actually include the rectangular limits for some additional information. And then of course I just have my closing points and adjustments. Now, because I'm reporting everything geodetically, if I were to come in and do an adjustment, a compass rule adjustment for instance, and adjust the coordinates here, I would actually be adjusting those geodetic positions that were already computed. So I can adjust a geodetic traverse just as easily as I can adjust a grid traverse. Okay? So I can adjust those geodetic positions as easily as I can adjust grid coordinates. I'm going to narrow up the closure view just for a moment here. And I want to point out a couple things for you. Notice that here's my area, 639.997 acres. I want you to look at our drawing here, and we've told the drawing to label the acres as well. So here's my 639.997 acres. Now I want us to come over to the Traverses Manager, and in the Traverses Manager, here's our traverse, and we asked Traverse PT to include a column for acres. Now I could have included quite a bit of information that comes right out of that closure view. Linear error, closure type, precision, relative error, it's all here. And what I asked for was the letter A for acres. So Traverse PC is displaying the geodetic area of this traverse for me in the Traverses Manager. So this traverse has just one area that it deals with that relates back to the distance type that I've selected for the traverse when I did the computation. So this is a geodetic traverse, and I'm getting geodetic closures and geodetic areas. Now I'm going to close out the traverse view and the closure view just for a moment. And I want us to concentrate on this area that's displayed in the drawing, 639.997 acres. If we look down at the bottom of the drawing, we can see that we're currently displaying geodetic distance and true bearing. We can find that same information up here at the top of the drawing. At the top of the drawing view, it says true bearing and geodetic distance, and we're also displaying feet. Now, I'm going to right-click and tell Traverse PC that I want to change the distances that are being displayed. So I'm going to go to Grid Distance and Grid Bearing. I want you to watch what happens to that area now when I choose OK. Do you see how the area has changed to 639.381? It's no longer 639.997. That's because we're not computing geodetic area anymore. We're computing grid area. So this would be the area based on the positions of this corners, which are geodetic positions, but we're actually computing the area on the grid. And what I want to have you notice here real quickly is that I haven't changed the area for the traverse in doing this. So my traverse is still 639.997. You see that here in the closure view, and we see that over here in the traverses manager as well. I've only changed it in the drawing. That's because I changed the distance type and direction type for the drawing. So the area has to track with what I've asked the drawing to display. So that's why I get a different area here. So the drawing controls. I can, if I want, go into the traverse settings, and in the advanced traverse settings option, I can tell Traverse PC to apply the distance factor to this drawing only. Okay, and I can actually override it so that traverse always displays its geodetic area type. Okay, but that's a setting you can choose if you want. I'm going to come back and turn that off here real quick, because what we're showing here is that we're forcing all the distances and the areas to track with the distance type and direction type that we've chosen for the drawing, and that's the default as far as how Traverse PC works.